This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. And here we are, another episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen, and this is Tiffy Tuesday.
Yay! Who's ready for another Tiffy Tuesday?
Well, Tiffy's ready for another Tiffy Tuesday. That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here, baby. I'm always ready.
I just want to say to my listeners, those people across the street and these county people that are digging the tunnel, they're still at it, so there's a lot of background noise. I'm not even going to apologize for it because it ain't my fault.
It ain't your fault. This ain't your thing.
But I'm just letting you all know, if you hear it, then that's why. It's just because they're still doing these.
It's your tax dollars at work.
Is that what that is?
I guess.
Is that an example of tax? You know what? Maybe you're right. Although the people across the street, it's so irritating. They had some workers over there who, and I get it, that, if you have some music going in the background while you're doing construction work, it kind of helps, helps the work go by.
Right.
But they've been blasting their music.
Well, what kind of music? Is it at least any good music?
No, crappy, like modern pop.
Modern pop? Is it modern Norwegian
modern
pop?
Norwegian pop.
Oh, good God. That's the awful.
It's just not listenable.
Is that the party soundtrack? Do you know about the Norwegian party soundtrack? They have the exact same songs. Every party I've ever been to here in Norway, a house party. They're always house parties. Yeah. That's basically it. And they play the same songs over and over. It doesn't matter what party you go to. It's Groundhog's Day.
That's what they've been playing across the street on that construction project for that house. Now, that's not tax dollars at work. That's a private project.
Oh, good Lord.
So Snoop walked across the street the other day and told them in her little fashion to cut the crap, turn that music off.
In her little fashion. I like the way you use it.
So those people's social and economic advancement has to stop because it's uncomfortable for us.
It is. So they got to go fuck themselves. I got it. Your wife has this nice way of telling people to go fuck themselves.
Awesome?
She's awesome.
It's poetic.
It is poetic. But what I came here to talk about today, John.
Let's get into it.
Because I spent my entire week since last Tiffy Tuesday not doing my homework and not doing the things I'm supposed to do because school is still kind of new right now. And I decided to fuck around on social media. Uh-huh. And my boyfriend he also decided to watch this show called The Social Dilemma, which I haven't seen yet, so I can't really
just
comment
put that on my list of things to watch.
Put it on your list of things to watch. It's on my list too. I gotta watch it. But anyway, because my boyfriend, he's not on social media at all whatsoever.
Really?
He's not on Twitter.
Good for him.
He's not on Facebook. He's not on any of that shit. Yeah. And whenever I'm on Twitter, he jokes about how I'm watching my stories. Tiffy's over there watching her stories. So I'm over there watching my stories. But what I found out, not just with Twitter, not with just social media, but anywhere in the comment section. The comment section is what I want to talk about today, because the comment section, and it's like literally any comment section, any of them. I like to cook, right?
Yeah.
I'm a decent cook, but I'm not a very adventurous cook. So I have my little set of dishes I know how to make without a recipe.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I get bored and I want to go and make something new, a new casserole, a new burrito, a new something, Yeah. So I go on these sites where they have recipes, John, just recipes.
Yeah.
It's nothing political. It's nothing to be angry about.
Just a recipe.
Just a fucking recipe. Yeah. And so I was looking for something to do for dinner on last Monday. And, so I went on this recipe site. I think it was like food.com or something ridiculous. And I found that the main ingredient in this dish was cilantro, which I also don't like cilantro.
I've never heard of that. What the heck is that?
What is it here in Norwegian? Oh God,
that's probably not going to help me.
No, but it's just an herb. It's like basil or gräslik or whatever. You know, so it's an herb. But cilantro goes into a lot of Mexican dishes, and I really like Mexican food. And you live here in Norway, you know that you can't find any good Mexican food to save your fucking life.
They'll call it Mexican food, but it's nothing.
No, they put corn and cucumbers and all kinds of weird shit in it. They Norwegianize it really, really bad. Yeah. So I was craving something really Creole and Mexican, and they do have a lot of cilantro in their dishes. And so usually when you read the comments, people will say, I don't like this particular ingredient, so I substitute this other one.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let me read the comments, because I also don't like cilantro, and maybe I could find
you might find a tip on what you could use.
A tip on what you can use, right?
Yeah.
So this lady,
innocent enough.
This lady pops up a post, completely innocent too. She doesn't say anything nasty about it.
No.
But she just says, cilantro tastes like soap to me, which it also tastes like soap to me. Cilantro tastes like soap to me, so I decided to add a little bit of parsley instead and take the cilantro out. And I'm like, not a bad suggestion, right? But then you get these mofuckers down the list, and they are screaming at her. If you don't like cilantro, stop looking at Mexican recipes, you stupid blah de blah de blah. Really, like going after her. So that takes me to I have like a few categories.
That's just not the place for that kind of aggression. I would never expect that.
It's aggression. It's aggression over taste, and this brings me to category 1 of the stupid ass commenters in the comment section. It's these people that it's snobbery. It's snobbery, and people don't understand that everything is according to taste. If you go to a music site and you start talking about, like, I'm not going to lie, I like Nickelback. I like Nickelback. I like Nickelback. Yeah. They figured out the formula of what's comfortable in people's ears, the sound bites that are comfortable in people's ears. It's the same thing with recipes and food. Everybody is genetically. We're not talking about like people being dicks and I don't eat that kind of thing. Yeah. Genetically, cilantro tastes like soap on some people's tongues, and it tastes like whatever the fuck cilantro is supposed to taste like on other people's tongues.
So that is a genetic thing.
It's a genetic thing.
Okay.
Like my boyfriend, he doesn't eat tomatoes because on his tongue, tomatoes taste like metal. Do tomatoes taste like metal to you?
No.
Does cilantro taste like soap to you?
No, but you know what tastes like metal to me?
What?
Apples.
See?
Apples.
See?
There's a harsh metallic taste. It's like licking a battery almost.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How are you going to jump on somebody like, because they don't have that same, who are you to tell me what flavors are good on my tongue? Basically is what I want to argue about. So, and the woman was completely innocent and just saying, I substitute because I have this genetic thing that makes cilantro taste like soap.
And people gave a crap for that.
So much crap. I mean, they called her, why don't you grow up?
Come on.
And you don't have a palate and all this shit. Well, what is a palate? A palate is a form. It's a form of taste and how you perceive things.
Right.
And it's the same thing when people like joke with me about liking Nickelback. I'm like, who the fuck are you to tell me what sound waves are comfortable in my ears versus what you listen to?
It's almost like people have forgotten that it should be allowed. It is permissible to be in the company of folks who don't quite agree with everything you have to say.
This is true.
Disagreement means aggression to some people. They interpret disagreement as a form of aggression, and then they react to that with even more aggression.
I agree, and it's super silly because it's over super silly things like cilantro and tomato.
Where do you think this is coming from? I don't think it was like this before social media. Is it just social media that has caused this?
See, that's why I really want to watch this documentary. I want to know, because I haven't seen it, but from what I understand is people are watching this documentary, The Social Dilemma, on Netflix, and they're saying that, I want to get rid of all my social media, but technically a recipe, on food.com is not social media. So people are just fucking nasty no matter what. And I think maybe perhaps, because this has only happened in the past few years. Let's be real.
Yeah, and I one of the most ridiculous examples of that I've experienced myself. I have a cop friend. He's a police officer out in I'll just say back in the States. I don't want to hang him out to dry here. But he had commented something about the protests, and he's a good guy, but he and I just kind of disagree on I think he's a little bit quick to claim that all or most of the Black Lives Matter protesters are terrorists, things like that. So I came in with something like, there are nuances within the Black Lives Matter movement. It's not a monolith. And that actually, I believe, is to the detriment of BLM. The local chapters, if you will, some of them are getting a little out of hand because they don't have a centralized way of governing BLM. So I commented something along those lines. Nothing aggressive in that. I was just adding my thoughts to that little debate on his Facebook wall.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, here come, I think it was like 4 or 5 of his friends. Who the fuck is this guy? Yeah. Who's this idiot? I didn't know you had dumb friends like this.
Right.
And I'm like, wow.
Wow. Right.
I didn't come with any anti-Republican or anti-right-wing stuff. I came with a very general statement about the way, if anything, you could look at that as something negative that I said. That Black Lives Matter has too little of us. It's not there's no
organized.
strength. There's no strength in that organization. It's not a central, focused leadership.
I think the reason behind that is because we had to organize it, and I'll put that in quotes, quickly.
Yes.
So it was just a mass of people all of a sudden. Yes. So we don't have a leader, and we don't really have a focus with BLM. And I say we, like I'm in BLM.
But again, what I said, if anything, you can interpret that as something that is against Black Lives Matter. And yet all of these people, they jumped on top of me.
They do. They do, and the comment section
in the comment section.
It is a fucking cesspool. It's a cesspool of the worst of what people are.
It is,
and
and I had to I had to pull a post. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I had to pull one of my posts off a couple of days ago. I had that podcast episode with Ralph Molina, the drummer from Crazy Horse, and he is the sweetest, kindest, most compassionate hippie. 70-something-year-old hippie, far from racist. He's an including type of guy. He had a comment on one of my posts, and all of a sudden, friends and family members are attacking Ralph because he's a little bit to the right.
Right.
Definitely to the right of what I think and a little to the right of what most of my friends think.
Right.
And I'm like, don't scare my famous friend away.
Yeah.
So I shut it down because it got to that level of toxicity.
The comment section is toxic.
It was ugly. It was disgusting. And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that it was happening on my post on my Facebook wall.
Yeah. And what do you do during that situation? Now, that's the question.
I sat back and watched it for about half a day, a good 8-9 hours.
But was that the right thing? Was that the right thing to do, to let it go?
I don't like to censor my Facebook wall because I do enjoy being part of those discussions, but also observing them. There is so much social studies in these things.
You can definitely learn.
For good or bad. It is something to learn from, and it's fascinating to observe. But again, it got to the point where I felt like I just had to shut it down. So I took the ability to comment away. Okay.
So you deleted the entire post? Yeah. I don't delete my posts. What I do is I leave it up, and then I allow the comments to flow. I do. And
again, I did that for the better part of the day. Yeah.
Which is good. I allow the comments to flow, but at some point I have to stop the commenting because we're not getting it. We're no longer talking about the subject at hand. Now all of a sudden we're talking about straw man arguments, and we're going into
it goes one or two comments of productive conversation and debate, and then after a couple comments, the straw man arguments, the name calling.
That's it. False dichotomies.
The libtard, the stupid right wing, all these comments and name calling, and it's. I think it's sad.
But that's just with the political things. That's just with the political things. Because the political comments are not the only nasty comments that are out there. Like I said, over a recipe, the snobbery.
And that's fascinating.
How
can you get that angry at someone because of a comment they make about food?
Or not just food, but I stupidly commented that I didn't like the movie The English Patient. I thought it was long. It was fucking boring. I got nothing out of it. And somebody wrote down on Twitter, what's the worst movie you ever had to sit through? And I wrote down The English Patient, and I got so much hate mail. Like, well, obviously you don't know. I was like, I'm an educated nurse. I know what it's like to be a nurse. Don't tell me like I don't know how the feelings are. I'm sitting there looking at it. It was dry as fuck. Yeah. It was long. There was nothing happening. Don't look at me like there's a moral high ground on whether or not
it's a doggone movie.
It's a fucking movie. I love that you say doggone. It's a doggone movie. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on my F-bombs.
No, let it out there. I like the pepper. Bring the pepper.
Bring the pepper and the salt and pepper. So
no, it's a very strange thing going on. But on the other side of it, it's so welcoming when you do find out that you can say whatever you want and engage in a constructive debate.
Right, but not everybody's ready for constructive
Not everybody
debate.
is ready for that, no.
That's the issue. And then let's talk about that too, because that's category number 2. So the category number 1 is snobbery, right? People want to make fun of you because you don't like the fucking escargot, or
they know better than you, and you are so stupid.
Oh, you are so stupid. And you grew up in a trailer on Velveeta and Cheese. I fucking did. Why are you mocking me?
Did you grow up in a trailer?
I did. Yeah. I grew up in a trailer. I grew up in a trailer park. I did. So I grew up in a trailer park with a hamburger helper and shit. And my palate is not advanced. So yeah, no, you give me the powdered shit. I'm cool with it. But why are you mocking me? Because I'm still getting my nutrients, believe it or not. I still eat veggies and I still eat meat and stuff. But why are you mocking me on the fucking mac and cheese?
Of all things to get aggressive about, because someone has a different sense of taste when it comes to food.
Which is genetic. It really is genetic. Things taste differently on your tongue. And I
believe that. And
sounds are a little more comfortable. Like sound waves are, I can't listen to the black metal here that they love here in Norway because to me it's just screaming and it makes me feel aggressive. So the way it makes me feel, I don't like it.
I like heavy music. I love Pantera.
Oh yeah.
For example. Yeah. But there's something with the Norwegian black metal, there's an element of musicality that is missing that they love over here.
Yeah.
But to my music ear, it's so unmusical. I can't listen to it.
No, it's
to me.
Yeah, to me too.
But again, that's that cultural or genetic or whatever difference,
It's all about comfort, and that's what they say. It's an acquired taste, or it's a personal taste, and so your personal tastes are built up on who you are as a person. Yeah. But then that takes me to number 2. The comments that have lack of insight, and I want to tell you about this comment section that I went into. It was a news post on Facebook from a news company. I don't remember which one it was, but obviously it was from Florida. It was a local news station. And they talked about, some guy that, robbed a store and did something stupid, and as you do,
In Florida.
Yeah, in Florida. And there was so many comments on that section that this is why we have this problem. People aren't whipping their children enough.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Right. So that's the lack of insight one, because the comment that I read that really pissed me off, because I'm against child abuse. I'm against spanking. I'm against any form of physical.
So am I. Now, some kids need an ass whooping, but I will never be the one to give it.
No.
And I will never be the one to condone it.
Well, the kids don't need the ass whooping until they were old enough to not.
Yes. Yeah.
They were too old to learn the common sense factor. So I think beating children's asses is absolutely fucking wrong. It's
so do I.
Child abuse whatsoever, no matter how old they are. They don't need an ass whooping.
In all seriousness, I agree with that.
But the comment that came out that made me realize that this was a category is the lack of insight. And this is when somebody said, I got my ass beat as a child and I turned out fine. That's the phrase that many of these people use. And in my argument against that is you did not fucking turn out fine. Thinking that it's okay to physically attack a child.
There's the flaw right there.
There's the flaw of your logic right there. You are a grown adult that finds it fine to physically harm another child. Now, if your child is old enough to understand reason, You should reason with your child. You should not, listen, child, don't do that because if you do that because this hurts other people or this will hurt you or whatever, and if they're not old enough to understand reason, then they will not understand the reason why you're hitting them.
Exactly. Thank you and amen. That is, those are my thoughts exactly when it comes to putting hands on a child. I seriously question, and if you fall into this category and this hurts your feelings, then so be it. I ask you to engage in a little introspection. If you are an adult and you can bring yourself to put your hands on a child, I think there's something wrong with you.
There's definitely something wrong with you.
You're missing something.
You're missing something.
Yeah.
My child is 8. He's 8, and I've never in my life had to hit him. No. Because when he was younger and he did stupid things, I just grabbed his hand and took him somewhere else and went, no, that's owies, or no, we don't do that. I taught him reason. And then once he became of the age of like 5 or 6 where he understood reason, then I say, you don't do that because it's owies to other people. And he understands that. He understands that.
You planted that seed, and that seed is called compassion. Yeah. You plant that seed by your actions from day one, the minute that child is out of the womb.
Yeah.
And that compassion seed should grow to the point to where that child understands what compassion and feeling for others is all about. And that right there will be the major motivator that will dictate their behavior.
Absolutely, because otherwise they govern their lives by fear instead of reason. And
it's a losing strategy.
It's a losing strategy. I agree with you wholeheartedly because, if I teach my kid, don't do that. If you do that, you'll get hit. Well, then let me tell you something. I grew up that way.
So did I.
Yeah. So we grew up with parents who hit, right? And so in my head, I didn't know the reason why not to do the thing. I just knew not to do the thing because I'd get hit if my parents saw it. So now I'm a 20-something-year-old or, a late teenager where I can go out and about and do my thing. Well, now I'm not going to get hit by the parent. So now I have no fear. So now I'm going to do the stupid thing that I've been wanting to do.
There's something wrong with that when a child, a teenager, or an adult, if they've learned this throughout their childhood years, if you don't do things because you're afraid of getting hit or getting hurt, instead of not doing things because you are afraid of hurting or damaging or hurting the feelings of that other person.
Or understanding the consequences to your actions. There is no understanding of consequences to your actions if all you do is get hit. Yeah. If I do this thing, I get hit by this one person. This one person is not around, so now I can do this thing, and I will fucking do this thing.
It's a horrible path to set a child on. And I think that any reasonable person, you can be that badass mom. I whip my kid's ass. You can be that person, but if you shut your mouth and stop trying to act out, because that's what it is. You're trying to act out because you don't know how. Well, I don't want to paint them all with the same brush, but a lot of these parents don't know how to be a good parent except by physical punishment.
Probably because they themselves.
Exactly. But if they stop and they think it through, they have to see the flaw in that type of parenting. It's a losing strategy.
It is absolutely.
Who wants to set their child on that path?
Because that's all you do is that you set them to govern their lives by fear. So not only about, if I do this bad thing, I'll get hit, but also if I do this outstanding thing, this thing that nobody's ever done before, if I step outside the lines of thinking or becoming, some kind of major, having a major breakthrough in science or anything like that, anything that they want to do, there's always going to be that fear that if I step outside the line, I'm going to get hit. And I don't want my kid to feel that whatsoever. I want him to step outside the line, but I want him to be able to feel comfortable to come talk to me about it.
And it's disappointing to see, because these discussions come up on a lot of Facebook pages, not necessarily of friends of mine, but just, people, some of these Facebook pages with individuals who have like a couple 100,000 followers.
Right.
And they'll put up a video of a mother spanking a child. And I know they're putting that up there just to get the follow so that they can get their advertising money. But then people start commenting, and it's sick and sad that so many people will laugh.
Yeah. No,
so many people will say, oh, yeah, that's what that little girl needed her ass beat.
No.
And that way of thinking is very prevalent.
Yeah.
And then you get the one person, and here comes that mob mentality in the comments section. You get that one person like you and I who will say these things that you and I are saying, and the comment section just jumps on them.
Jump all over you. Like, you weren't expecting of a child. I'm like, listen, dude, I was beat with like all kinds of things. Objects and whatever the hell was around, belts and stuff. I got cut, Don't tell me I wasn't beat. I just know that whenever I went through my teenage years and, the person that beat me wasn't around, then fuck you, I'm going to go balls to the wall because now I don't have that. I didn't know why I shouldn't have done the things I did. Like the proper reasons of how it hurts other people or how it can get you in trouble or how it can ruin your future or anything like that. There was no reasoning in my upbringing. It was just hitting. It was just hitting.
And that's incredibly damaging.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I pause here because I'm thinking, as we mentioned last week, I have this book project and you're helping me to write.
I'm excited.
And but I'm also doing some things on my own. I was speaking to let's call them a contact who was an adult during my teenage years, and I talked to them a couple of days ago, and then a few things came out about the way I was raised and about that issue with physical punishment and stuff. It came out in that conversation, and let it suffice because I don't want to veer away from what the topic is, but let it suffice for me to say that any child who has been punished physically by a parent is damaged.
Always.
The question is
always
how damaged.
Right.
So. I say that and I believe it, and I challenge anybody to come against that.
I totally agree with you because your mom or your dad or your uncle or whoever's raising you, right? Because this is a new world here. So whoever's raising you, but if that's the person when you're little, I mean, like under 5, the ones that you can't really understand reason, they're the ones that are taking care of you. You put your whole life, they're gods to you. And when these gods come down and smack you, but they don't tell you why, or they don't tell you, they don't sit there and talk. It's just lazy parenting. I just say it's lazy ass parenting.
It is.
And it's just picking up from where it's taking the whole horrible legacy and redoing it.
Yes, it's them choosing not to, because I don't want to hear the apologist who says, well, they can't help it because that's how they were raised. They can help it. They can help it. They get to a certain point. Everyone gets to a certain point where that your way of thinking or your way of putting things into action is wrong.
Right.
You know that. And then you make the decision to either do something about it or not.
Or not. Like you said, that's the way they were raised. I think we might have even talked about this before in your show.
I think we did, yeah.
About, all these old people that just spat out some racist bullshit out their mouth, and you're like, you gotta forgive them. They're old. The fuck they are. That means they lived through decades of civil rights fights.
Exactly.
They've lived through it. They've seen it, and they haven't heard a fucking thing.
We had a summer with Black Lives Matter protests. They had a decade or two.
Let's see somebody who's learned something from this. Exactly. So has anybody learned something? And then that actually brings me to category 3 of these horrible commenters. These are the absolutely clueless ones. The clueless commenters that I read a comment about one of my favorite authors wrote a comment, and she said something about how the world has become, like her book which is this dystopian future or whatever. I don't want to name her, but it's this dystopian future, and she wrote it. And then some dude wrote a comment and said, "Did you even read the book?"
Well,
she wrote the fucking book. I don't want to call out mansplainers, but this is a little bit.
Sometimes it's the most ignorant ones who come with this dumb. They just need to be quiet. it's the ignorant ones who comment the most, quite often.
Right, it is. It's the one that. And
did you even read the book?
Did you even read the book? She was the bitch that wrote the book, and somebody got on me about this whole post office thing. Because I'm fired up about the post office because I was a postal worker.
So the inner workings.
I know the inner workings. I was a mailman.
Yeah.
My name is Tiffany, but my friends called me Cliffany from like Cliff Clavin from the Cheers series. So I was Cliffany. I was a mailman for a long, long time. And then somebody's like, do you even know like the inner workings? Or like, do you know how it works? I'm like, bitch, yes, I work there. So these clueless people that want to tell other people who are experts in their field how to think, how to feel when they...
Oh, don't you know that these people get smarter the minute they log into Facebook? All of a sudden, there's this infusion of knowledge and wisdom that just falls into the brain.
Apparently, they skim the headlines, and all of a sudden they know more about the person who is arguing against it or for it. The clueless people are amazing on the comment section.
Well, I had somebody on Sunday, a Norwegian guy, made the comment, there was some debate about what, not immigrants, but what asylum seekers get financially when they come to Norway, money in their pocket. And this guy made the statement that asylum seekers make way more money. They have way more, much better economy and finances.
That is garbage.
Than a retired Norwegian.
Oh yeah, and they just sit at home and make all this money.
So I asked him. I said, "Wow, that's a pretty strong statement. Do you have any, documentation on this?" And he said, "Well, the Prime Minister, Arne Solberg, said it herself." I'm like, "Oh, really? I've never seen any quotes." I said, "Can you set in just silence?" And I think that is one of those people you're talking about. They're very ignorant, but for some reason they get Facebook smart. And they think that they can just say these things that maybe they heard on some propaganda page.
They think if they write it in capital letters, then it makes it true.
Do you know what this person wrote in capital letters?
I bet he did.
Like 10 exclamation points after each sentence.
I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
And
capital letters makes it true, honey.
So, and on the surface, anyone listening to this knows that that's not true, that a person who just came here on asylum from wherever, from Somalia, from
Eritrea or whatever.
Wherever. You know that they are not making more money than a retired
They're suffering.
Norwegian.
Listen, I work in a grocery store here, and I have a lot of those refugees come into my store, and they come in and buy the cheapest items ever, and they are frugal with their money because they don't get money. They do not get money. So whoever thinks that, these asylum seekers are hanging out and, the more kids they pop out, I've heard this story, the more kids they pop out, the more money they get. It's not enough to feed the one kid.
Yeah.
So the more kids they pop out, that's not true. It's just their culture is that they don't believe in... It's like Catholics. They don't believe in condoms, and, they're going to pop out some babies. Would you say the same thing about a Catholic?
Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
Would you? Yeah. Would you? Because, I come from a Lutheran family, and my mom, she's one of 6 kids. My dad is one of 5. Would you say the same thing about my white honky-ass family that came out here with all these goddamn kids? No, it's because of whatever religion they believed in. Didn't believe in condoms or prevention in any way. So, yeah.
But isn't it amazing how these people get this sense of being so informed and so intelligent? How can anyone in their right mind make a statement like that? And then how can anyone in their right mind, latch on to that statement and be like, yeah, they make so much money. Come on. What, really?
Really? And there's all these groups, these Facebook groups that, or even, Twitter sections or whatever, but there's all these Facebook groups that believe. This is where QAnon comes in. This is where this is where, we're not going to get on QAnon. I was trying not to be political here, but
a lot of them are in these comments section fueling the fire.
Right. And the funny thing is that usually these are the people that they're in their mom's basement, using the internet, and they are calling libtards. Oh, why don't you get out of your mom's basement? There's a lot of projection going on. I'm like, you spend a lot of time on the interwebs. I go on the interwebs every once in a while. I see some political shit. I'll go through it. I try to breathe through it, but then usually at the very end, I go to like kitty and baby elephant videos, and
clear your head out.
Clear your head out. It's like a sorbet, for the mind before I go out. It clears the palate.
Well, where is this? the QAnon thing, it's not just the crazies. There's some people who I wouldn't label as a crazy, but they're beginning to latch onto some of that QAnon
Osama bin Laden's niece is a QAnon believer. So that should kind of give you a clue.
But I'm talking about like Facebook friends and acquaintances on Facebook who don't seem crazy and they don't seem dumb. But now they're starting. But now they're starting to, like, someone has been commenting now for several weeks from time to time, commenting. Now this person is a Trump supporter. This person doesn't seem especially ignorant. Some of the things that they're touching on, though, is getting into that QAnon thing. For example, they've stated several times that it's been proven. There's videos of Joe Biden putting his arms around little girls and playing with their nipples.
Wow.
That
I haven't heard any of that.
It's out there.
Oh, wow.
This is from someone who I am Facebook friends with, who has put this out there several times. And I'm just like, what?
See, now you're making me come out of my cubby, because I have my own little cubby on the internet. I have my own little, everybody has a bubble, which is what makes us the way we are. But you're making me come out of my cubby because I've never heard of that. And that
I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to show it to you.
This is crazy.
I'm going to show it to you. Don't say their name out loud.
I won't.
There they are. And I'm not saying he or she, because I really don't want to call
them.
This person
we like to use the gender neutral them.
Not that I usually do that, but in this case I want to, because I really don't want to call this person out.
You're freaking me out, John. You're looking it up.
I'm gonna find it. Because it's
right.
Let's see, can I search Joe Biden and nipples?
Joe Biden and nipples. See, when you Google stuff like that, John, you're going to get on a list. I think that's the government puts you on a list when you put on shit like Joe Biden and nipples.
I think I can search on this person's wall.
I had to look up Tom Cruise and taint one time, and it was not a good thing.
Tom Cruise and taint.
Tom Cruise and taint. It was not a good thing. All right, you finding it?
Go. And then show results of the search. Well, it says no results. I'm going to find this. This is the person, though, and I'm just going to scroll through their wall casually.
Okay, all right.
Casually as we're talking here. But my point was that QAnon, you expect QAnon, they have, with the tinfoil hats, and Alex Jones and all that stuff. But it's leaking out into the relatively normal society, because this person that I'm talking about, I don't see them as a nut job.
Right.
And yet they're saying things like this.
The problem
Where are they getting that information from?
The problem is because there's no such thing as normal society anymore. I think we lost that in 2015. I do. I believe that people lost their fucking shit in 2015 when all these different political candidates came along and everybody was allowed to let their freak fly. And I'm saying that on both sides that, the racists got to be more racist. The gay people got to be gayer. The women got to speak out more. We had hashtag Me Too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everybody had a moment since 2015 to speak out about the shit that was bothering them all these years before, when it was not couth to chat about it, I think. And so even I'm more knowledgeable about LGBTQ people than I have ever been since before 2015, because now there's groups that are organized, people that are talking about it. But that also, it kind of makes me think about, now that you talked about people like posting things, it kind of makes me think about category number 4, which is the person that makes everything absolutely political, no matter what.
Oh, God.
You talk about.
Yeah. Well, I've been saying for a long time that when I talk about racial equality, when I talk about white privilege, racial equality, things like that, I don't see that as political.
It's civil rights.
It's civil. It's a social issue.
It's a social issue.
I'm not getting political. I have had friends who have walked away from me, people who I thought were close friends for years.
That's awful.
A decade or more who have walked away,
telling me about that.
who have walked away because they, and I quote, are tired of me getting political on my podcast.
Right.
I don't know. I can count on one hand out of 70 podcasts. This is the 71st podcast episode. I can count on one hand the number of times I've said the word Trump.
Yeah.
I don't talk politics. I am not an expert from it. I'm far from an expert, but I can talk social issues and I can talk racism. I'm an expert on that.
You're an expert.
I've been dealing with that for 51 years.
Yeah, right.
So it's.
But why is racism political?
It's a cop-out.
It's got to be.
It's a cop-out. I think that it's because there are a number of white people who are so uncomfortable with the issue that they can't talk about it. So they throw it into that category that, no, don't ever talk politics with your friends.
Right.
And then they accuse me of talking politics, which then gives them an excuse to walk away from me and avoid the issue.
That's messed up.
That's what I think.
Because that's not politics.
It's not. It's far from
race, civil discourse is not politics. It's talking about how you're treating your fellow man. I mean, if anything, it should be religious or a part of your life thoughts and dreams and stuff is to be. Oh, what do you got?
I found that post. I'm sorry.
It.
Just read this, and please don't read it out loud and don't say their name. But you'll see the reference.
You keep talking.
You'll see the reference to Joe Biden supposedly pinching little girls' nipples. You can look it up. See, and the thing is people don't want to do their research. People do not want to do their research. You can fact check these things about Joe Biden fondling kids and stuff.
Holy shit.
Do you know that some of these pictures or film snippets that people are putting out and saying, see, look at him fondling that child. A couple of them are his own grandchildren and he's hugging them.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the kid might cringe a little bit.
Who doesn't cringe when your papa comes and grabs you?
A couple of them were at funerals, for God's sakes, where the kids were already upset and things like that.
Yeah.
It's been fact-checked and proven to be false when people put that out there saying that Joe Biden is fondling kids. And I have no reason to defend Joe Biden. I don't know the man. I don't even think he's the best candidate that the Democrats could put up there. So I'm not defending him because I'm a lover of his politics. I'm defending him because I truly believe that if anyone were to fact check that mess, they will see the falsehood in it.
But the problem is there's.
But you saw that post right there.
Yeah, I saw it.
This is from someone who I don't think is a nut job.
No, so but it's cultism. It's cultism.
Yeah, the point is the cultism and that QAnon craziness, and it is crazy, is crazy. Leaking. It's spreading. It's spreading.
Which is kind of its goal, isn't it, though, John? It's supposed to leak in like a goo, through the cracks of anything, and it will spread and it will go through a group of people. And so the ignorance and the cluelessness is bonkers.
Well, the people who walk away from me, and I don't really care if this hurts their feelings. They're probably not listening to me because they've walked away from me. So
right.
They'll probably never hear this. Oh, yeah. Was that your head?
That was my phone.
So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. No, I think it's just showing how uninformed they are.
Right.
If we talk about, racism and things like that, there's nothing new to talk about. This is an issue that's been there forever, but people are acting as if it has just recently arisen.
Well, because I think it's
that's
recently.
That's the ignorance of the mob that you find in these comments section. They're incredibly
because
ignorant.
As a white person, I will tell you this: the only racism I knew was within my own family. Within when I grew up, like I said, I grew up with a racist father, and then I'm pretty sure my grandparents were racist because they were, but they never said anything. But they had the Dixie flag up.
There's a joke in there, but I'm going to let it
throw the joke in there. Obviously, they were racist, but they weren't overtly racist. They didn't say anything. They just kept these Dixie flags.
Grandparents.
I never met him.
Okay.
Never met him. Never met my great grandparents.
If you see a picture of your great grandparents, those black people standing behind them, they're probably not their friends.
They're probably not buddies.
I'm sorry. There's
they
the joke.
probably
There
didn't
was
come.
the joke. There was the joke.
I'm so glad we can laugh about racism together, John.
Well, but that goes to my point. But that goes to my point. There's nothing malicious. And here's an example of the ignorance of that wall, that wall of ignorance coming from the comments section. I, as a black man, when I speak on issues of race, I am labeled as an agitator. I am labeled as aggressive. I am labeled as anti-white.
Right.
And there's the ignorance that comes through.
That's it.
Has anything I've said in this podcast so far been anti-white? No. I'm simply speaking on the subject. I'm not pointing my finger and accusing you. But some white people, just because I talk about it, they feel as if I'm accusing them.
Guilt. That's the guilt.
And I wish people would stop that. White guilt needs to go away.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Yeah, I cannot stop my white guilt. I cannot stop.
But what is white guilt?
White guilt, to me anyway, my own personal white guilt is you're right. You're right. You're right that it's been going on. And I can't help my skin color that I'm white. And I want to be an ally for you the best I can. But there's also a certain boundary that me as a white person cannot cross, because then I'm either overstepping my bounds or I'm like, if I
get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
You know, if I want to, like with the Democrats, remember them when the Democrats put on it wasn't a daishiki, but they put on the
yes, the
African,
the colors and the robe,
and they wanted to support.
Yes.
Yeah, they wanted to support, but then all of a sudden
it was well meant, but
it was well meant, right? They went a little stupid, but it's an easy mistake for any white person, because we want to support you, but we don't know how far we're allowed to go.
But the black community, I'll just speak for myself. I know the difference between someone overstepping any boundary, a white person overstepping any boundary when it comes to race. I know the difference between that innocent overstepping and something malicious or something where they're trying to take control of the narrative. I see the difference. So I think white guilt should just disappear, because if you're not racist, if you want to be an ally, then you're allowed to be an ally who at times makes mistakes.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something about my white guilt then.
Yeah.
I go home every once in a while to my home state of Florida, and I was friends with, a good portion of the black community in my school. Mm-hmm. And I had this girl that does hair. She's a black girl that does black girl hair. And then I asked her, can you do Caucasian hair? Can you do something? Can you, because I like her art. Yeah. And what she did was art. So I went to her salon and I got my hair done, and I didn't want to say it was a weave. It wasn't a weave, but it was some sew-ins and some extensions, and she made some curls, and a little bit was black culture. And I said, just do whatever you want is what I said to her. I said, do whatever you want because you're fabulous. Okay, girl, I got you. So she got me. And then when I walk out and I go to the grocery store or whatever, then I'm appropriating black culture.
Here's how I look. I
was just trying to support a black business, and not only that, but she was good at hair, and she was really good at hair.
And I can recognize the fact that you were supporting a black business. That's what you were doing. Mm-hmm. I can also recognize the fact that you didn't tell her to do that. You didn't do it yourself. A white lady didn't do that. A black woman did that to your hair.
Oh, it looked good too, though.
I bet it did.
It did.
So I get it that some ultra revolutionary, ultra blackety black people may have felt offended. At that, but I would notice. I'd be like, oh wow, I bet a black woman did her hair.
Yeah.
That would pretty much be the.
That's what I
it.
wanted. I was just wanted to be like, you know what, her hair looks good. It looks good.
I would not call that an instance of or an example of the appropriation of black culture. I just wouldn't.
No, I got hollered at. So the white guilt will always remain. But I think it will always remain as long as white privilege remains.
Well, I'd rather call it white awareness instead of white guilt. Just be aware. Be an ally and be aware.
Right.
And I think reasonable black people, which most of us are reasonable, will know the difference between appropriation and ignorance. And ignorance is okay, because ignorance can be healed by knowledge, by information.
Yeah. Oh, my God, yeah. It can totally be healed. Which actually, what you're talking about, ignorance can be healed by conversation. I want to take you to the last category of the horrible commenters.
Yeah.
And the last category are what I call the social arsonists.
Ooh.
And those are the ones that come onto the comment and they leave one inflammatory comment. And then they fuck off and they never answer you again. And they just have everybody else fighting with everybody else. These people are toxic to the world.
And they take pleasure in doing that.
They take pleasure. And then I call them social arsonists. I don't know if there's a word for them, but
it's a good word, though. That's a good word.
They come in and they set a little fire and they just step back and watch it burn. So they'll have their little idea of what needs to be said about something stupid, and then they fuck off and they piss.
Those people are there. Yeah.
They are there. Have you had any experience with social arsonists?
Not so much on my own personal social media accounts, because I think people pretty much get it that I don't tolerate that.
Right.
And I have no problem unfriending someone. However, I do, because again, the social situation, especially in America, fascinates me. And I call myself a student of that phenomenon. I love to observe it,
right,
and draw conclusions and then rewrite some conclusions. So in the course of that puts me out there on a lot of different social media areas that I normally wouldn't be on, because I like to see what people are doing. So I see those social arsonists.
Yeah.
They're very good at what they do.
Very good.
It's a well-formulated piece of toxicity.
It's usually
that they type in
a false dichotomy, or some
they type
kind
it
of,
in, they put it up there, and then they step back and
they step back and just watch people break down. And I think that kind of commenter, they need to go away.
But they never will, because people fall for it. People fall right into it.
I fell into it, which is why, I brought it up. All of these different categories of people, I've fallen for it, or I've been it. I've been the one I'm guilty of, and it's not a category I put in. The one I've been guilty of is when somebody goes off on a tangent and says something stupid, and then they misspell something.
Yeah.
And then my only comment is to correct the spelling of the word. I'm that person. I'm awful.
But have you matured up through the years, social media wise?
No.
You haven't? I have.
No, I haven't. Well, I guess you can say a little bit. I matured to the ways I don't fall for the traps anymore of people giving the whataboutism, and
that's growth. That's maturity.
That's growth and maturity. But I still put your with a star there and spell it the right way, and instead of answering their question when they were going off on a fucking tangent about Q and all this nonsense. Yeah, no,
it's I don't see too much of that on my wall at all. People know that I really don't put up with it, but I do see it out there on other pages that I go onto. Like I say, there's a lot of, I think before you can monetize a Facebook page, you have to have like a crazy, I know on YouTube you have to have 1,000 followers.
Right.
And then you can monetize it. But on Facebook, it's like I don't know. Do I want to say like 1 million? You have to have 1 million or 100,000.
Facebook, you can only have 5,000.
Well,
so
that's on a personal page. No, that's on a personal page. But if you change your page, like my artist page, I can have as many. I don't have even close to enough on there, but I can have as many as I can. And some people will have like an artist or an entertainment page that have 100,000, 500,000. And that's what it takes to monetize it.
Let's take a little stop minute and then plug your Facebook page.
I never plug my page unless you're
shameless plug.
If you guys go on at John Allen Loyal Oak, that is my artist page on Facebook. That's at JOHNALAN LOYALOAK. At John Allen Loyal Oak.
We made you spell.
At John Allen Loyal Oak. That's my artist page. Now there you will find my music. I am a musician, songwriter, vocalist, bassist. I'm in the studio
I saw.
Playing bass. So you'll see my music there. You'll see, I don't have much stand-up going on at the time, but you'll see some stand-up things, announcements and whatnot. And my podcast is there as well.
And it's
So
always good.
I ask people to please go on that page, like, follow, keep yourself updated. But mostly I ask people to listen to these podcast episodes on my YouTube channel. I'm really working hard at getting my YouTube channel monetized. If you guys like this podcast, go there, subscribe, like.
Leave a comment. Listen, if you think I'm full of shit today, especially about the spanking of your children, if you want to argue with me about spanking children, I will argue with you all day. You don't need to spank children. Come talk to me. I will help you. But comment.
Get on there and comment. Let's have that discussion there. I love having these discussions with Tiffy or with any guests that I have on, and I know it stimulates to thought and discussion among you listeners. But let's bring that to a centralized forum so that I can get more of a feel about how you people are thinking. And that is my YouTube channel. That's where all of these episodes are. You can also go on my website, JohnAllenPod.com, and from there on the home page of my website you can click on the YouTube icon, and there you are, right into my YouTube page. Go there, like, comment, and follow. I want to monetize that, put a little income into this podcast so I can make it better.
Right. And I also want to hear your listeners' comments. I mean, I want to know what they're saying, what they're saying and what they're thinking about this show.
Like I said, I know that there's been some interesting episodes here. I know it stimulates thought. So bring it to the forum, bring it to my YouTube page, and put your comments there, and let's have a discussion. If you guys comment, I will engage. I will answer. Tiffy will, my guests will. Let's keep the discussion going.
Keep the discussion going, because we're only here for a short while whenever Tiffy Tuesdays come around. Yeah. But I'm really curious about what your listeners think about the bullshit that rambles out of my mouth. Because
well, I tell you, I get feedback, and this is the kind of feedback I wish they would put on the YouTube channel, but they'll send me a private message saying, "Oh wow, I loved." A couple of them have contacted you, I think.
Yeah.
but most of them are just coming to me and saying, "Oh wow, that was so great. Hey, we love Tiffy's attitude. Oh, she's so smart." And that's great. But put that on the YouTube channel, and then I know there's people who think that we're full of crap. Oh, I'm gonna beat my kids. I know y'all are out there. So I want to.
The Shirley Q lickers out there.
So I want to hear you guys. Let's have that discussion. I welcome it. I am not afraid of anybody who disagrees with me. Those are the people I want to engage. I love a good debate. Not just
a debate. It's to listen to their side of why, and to understanding. For me, I want to hear the other side without the fighting. I want to hear the other side without the mansplaining. Like the dude that went, "Did you even read the book?" Yeah. Well, I fucking wrote the book, dude.
But when I say debate, to me, debate is a good thing. Debate is based on fact. Debate is free of personal aggression.
Let's use a different word. Let's talk about deliberate.
Deliberate.
I think it's a better word, because debating is your side and you're fucking right. So you're going to fight against the other side.
Just a discussion. Yeah.
Deliberation is a discussion about you share your sides that you absolutely know are right, but you are open to listening to my sides that are absolutely right.
I like the two-way street of a good, clean, deliberation discussion or deliberation.
I like that word. Yeah.
So that's what I want people to do. And again, I know people don't agree with everything we're saying, so I wish they would engage.
Yeah. So let's get them to engage a little bit, and let's chat with them. And maybe you might find somebody that has something against what I say or against what you say that wants to come on the show. I'm gonna beat my kids. I'm gonna beat them silly. Don't fucking beat your kids. Stop putting your. You did not grow up fine. You did not grow up fine.
I put a lot of that stuff into my stand-up act, but I hope I put it out there in a way so that people understand that I'm quite against it.
Right.
As you laugh, I hope you see the truth of my convictions.
Right.
When it comes to those kind of things,
well, that's what comedy is about.
And again, if you don't agree, then put your disagreement on that Facebook wall, or I'm sorry, on that YouTube page.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it.
Let's argue. I'm ready to fight some motherfuckers in the comment section, John. I'm ready to fight. Well, I'm ready.
I'm definitely not afraid, and I think that I have. Not that I'm some sort of, not that I should have a spot on CNN as a a talking head. But I do think that this podcast has caused me to kind of hone my skills as a debater, as one who discusses important topics.
Roger.
And I want those of you out there who feel that you have, a leg to stand on in these debates and these discussions to come on out and let's hear it.
I'm actually kind of curious what kind of debaters you're going to have on the comment section. If you're going to have the ones that are clueless, or if you're going to have the ones that have snobbery.
Snobbery. What was the other one?
Lack of insight.
Lack of insight.
Everything is political. And the last one is the social arsonist.
Let me just ask you a quick question before we wind this up.
Right.
The ones that have a lack of... the ones that just come with the crackpot ideas,
Right.
do you think that is based on their fear of the actual issue?
It's based, I think it's based on the way they were grown up. They were based on, like they said, I got beat as a child and I turned out fine. Yeah. Well, no, that was the way you were conditioned, and you were conditioned to find out.
But could it be that they're afraid to face that and think it through? It's too painful.
I don't know if there might be some of it. It's too painful to think about, but it's also like, it's the way I was raised, and that's how I know the world to be. So perception is reality. And if their perception is that children need to be beat because I was beat and I turned out fine, which they fucking didn't. They didn't turn out fine.
Well, again, everyone who's been beaten as a child, you're hurt, you're damaged.
There's damage. You're damaged properly in some way or another. And you might go one extreme way to be the one that beat your children, or the other extreme way to where you can't stand even the sight of violence, and you have this panic attack or whatever. I kind of lean to one side of, I know it's wrong and it's stupid and it's not helpful, so why are you doing it? It's only damaging. So yes, it's been another good time tonight.
It's been another great episode of Tiffy Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We're going to do this again. We had limited ourselves to 4 episodes, but we're just gonna.
Well, why the fuck not?
We're just gonna keep going.
I love coming out here and chatting with you.
I want this to be a permanent thing. It's a lot of fun. It stimulates my mind, but in the base of all of this is just having fun with Tiffy. You're fun. We love you here. Snoop loves you. You got to say hi to Snoopy today.
I got to say hi to Snoopy today. She wasn't asleep, and overnight she made some great tea. I love tea.
I called her a tea expert, and she got all embarrassed and said no, she isn't. But she is.
She is.
She knows how to find this.
She made
that,
me
and
a homemade. I don't know what's named.
Yeah, I don't even know. Some sort of tea.
Some kind of
tea that she made, and she can go out in the woods, in the forest up here, up on the mountains, and find this, that, and the other in the ground, and pluck it up, bring it home. And I'll make fun of her. But in the end, she's got some kind of crazy tea that tastes so good.
She's your Michonne, I think. I used to, a long time ago, I watched the show, The Walking Dead, I think it's called.
Okay,
and Michonne was this powerful ass woman in the woods, and she can make tea and food out of everything. She was a survival person. Yeah, she was one of those, and that's your wife. She knows the mushrooms.
She's tough.
She's tough. I love her.
She can make that tea.
Yeah. You'll never die in the forest.
I will never die in the forest. She'll always bring something up out of the ground for me to eat. All right, we got to wrap this up, everybody. Thanks, Tiffy.
Thank you for having me again, John.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.